Lomachenko versus Campbell. Really should be a fun, interesting chess match, to be honest. This one probably goes the full distance unless Lomachenko gets a mean streak. But Campbell being the taller guy, a gold medalist in his own right, fantastic fundamental boxing ability and just overall talent, I think he should be able to make this a boxing match with Loma. And to be honest, that's kind of Campbell's style. Campbell's not a guy that's going to throw a lot of volume. He's not a guy that's going to really overwhelm you with aggression. He's a guy that wants to be in the boxing mid-range and just exchange with you and really dictate the action with the jab, with his ability to sort of dart in and out of range with his light footwork. But to be honest, everything he does, Loma does better. And Loma arguably does it with even more power, too. He might be the smaller guy in terms of height and in terms of mass, in terms of overall size. But he is the better boxer. And I think, let's be honest here, Lomachenko should sort of win every exchange here. I mean, yeah, he's going to lose exchanges. He might even drop a couple rounds here and there. But you can't really outbox Loma. And if you do, you have to be a guy that's so significantly bigger than him that size is such a huge factor. And I don't think it's going to be enough of a factor here in Campbell's advantage. We obviously saw that Linares had some advantage and some success with his height and reach, with his speed and boxing ability. Maybe Campbell can mimic some of that. But again, I don't think that's really the path to beat Loma. It's A, not really boxing with him, and B, you have to be significantly bigger than him if you're just going to box him. Orlando Salido set the game plan years ago, and no one's really tried to implement that same game plan again, or at least hasn't been as successful at that game plan. I don't see Campbell being able to mimic that. I don't see Campbell's own style really meshing well into the point that he can beat Loma. I think his style actually leads me to thinking that Loma should have an easier time in this fight because it's a guy that is a great boxer, but if you're going pure chess ability, pure tactical ability, Loma's better. And again, better in almost every single category except for maybe height, reach, and that's about it. And to be quite honest, I don't see how Campbell wins here. I don't see a path of victory for him, to be quite honest. And there was even a round table with Paulie Malignaggi, David Hay, Tony Bellew. Who else was there? Was Ricky Hatton there? I'm trying to remember who else was there. Johnny Nelson was there, obviously from Sky. And they were talking about the matchup and how, sort of breaking it down. It was actually a really cool video. And to be honest, I surprisingly agree with most of what Paulie said, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Paulie, and Paulie is not the biggest fan of me. But I think it was right. You can't really outbox Loma. Oh, Carl Froch. Thank you, Lunatic, in the chat. Yeah, that's right. Carl Froch was there. He didn't say much that was entertaining or insightful. But digressing from that, I thought Paulie was absolutely spot on. Campbell isn't really... His overall style, his overall makeup as a fighter leads, I think, a lot of people to think, yeah, he wins rounds against Loma, but he doesn't win a fight against Loma, and he doesn't really have the style to push for a knockout. Shout out to Igloo in the chat with the super chat, same with MCR. Thank you, Igloo. Really appreciate it. But again, leave a comment down below. What do you guys think? Does Loma just outpoint and outbox Campbell in a high pace, high action, but really high tactical, high level tactical fight? Or does Campbell find a way? Is Campbell too big, too strong? Is his boxing ability able to match Loma enough to negate the skill disparity? Rubisky saying Paulie was interrupting the entire chat. It was quite funny. But hey, that was a good discussion. Debate is always fun, Rubisky. That's what I always say. Call in 323-870-4051. Let's move on with the rest of the card. Charlie Edwards defends his WBC flyweight title against Julio Cesar Martinez Arguellar. It should be a fun fight. Martinez isn't really a guy that makes me think he should beat Edwards, especially since, I mean, let's be honest, Charlie Edwards is sort of like coming into his own right now. I think he's improving with each fight. I think he is drastically improving with each fight on top of that. And on top of all of that, he may have some of the slickest boxing skills in the division. So, yeah, I think at this point in time, Edwards should be able to sort of sail through this bottom tier at the top of the division, and only the top level guys are really going to give him some issues, like a Tanaka or somebody along those lines. Moving on, Hughie Fury versus Alexander Povetkin. This fight's intriguing. Let's be honest here. Povetkin is a guy that is aging quickly, that has been knocked out several times now. And he does have sort of in terms of the height disparity, he is that short guy that wants to just sort of throw a left hook and sort of lunge his way in on the inside, and maybe that's not really enough for Hughie Fury, and Hughie Fury is going to be able just to jab him and be on the outside and walk around him all night. Or Povetkin's too good, he slips under the jab and he beats him up to the body, beats him up top. I mean, Parker did it, Pulev did it in a sense. I mean, let's be honest, Povetkin should be the clear favorite, but it seems like with each and every fight now we get with Povetkin, the X factors are more and more so against him. And this fight is another example of that. You know, Hughie Fury is 24 years old. Povetkin's in his late 30s. The size and reach disparity, maybe the speed disparity. Like, Fury does have some athletic and overall just X factors on his side. Is that enough to win it? Probably not. Povetkin should be the favorite because, again, he's the better fighter, more experienced, more polished, definitely more power. Povetkin should win a decision here, to be quite honest. But, again, hedging your bets here, if you're looking out there for the betting lines, unless you find some really amazing odds on like a Povetkin points decision at like plus money, I would just stay away from this fight completely. Igloo saying Povetkin is still very dangerous. I don't get why people call him old. He is way more dangerous than Pulev or Parker. I think he's limited in terms of his arsenal, but what he does quite well. Like, he's efficient with his combinations. His punching technique is some of the better technique in the division overall. Let's just be honest. That's what generates most of that power. But, like, I've seen him get slower with time, Igloo, to be honest. I've seen him be more susceptible to power and just overall punches with time. And it's just something that I think people are noticing. It's not an issue that I think obviously some people are calling him old now. I'm not talking about those people, but for those that are knowledgeable in the discussion, yeah, I think there is a point to be made about Povetkin not looking the same, as most fighters don't. You know, like look at Triple G, for example. Triple G, I would say, is looking older. Does he look old? Does he look shot? No, of course not. He still looks like a top 5 fucking middleweight. However, he is looking older, right? I think the same is sort of true with Povetkin in a sense. But again, I'm fascinated by the heavyweight fight, and I'll be honest, you guys know me. Heavyweight fights don't really get me going. This one does, and that's really, to be honest, due to the height disparity. I love seeing those fights in the heavyweight division. Mick saying Yee, I don't know who that is. I'm going to say Fury. I don't know. We'll start gassing after round 7 or 8. I don't know. AOBZ saying Peter was giving Fury problems. Povetkin going to hurt that boy. He could. I mean, definitely. Let's be honest. The power could be a massive factor here because Povetkin still has pop. And his ability to land said power is quite above average for the division. Igloo saying he's definitely slowing down, but he's not done. Agreed on all parts of Igloo. That's why Povetkin should be the favorite still, but if he loses, it wouldn't be as big of a surprise as, let's say, a year or two ago, even, right? Let's say even before the Joshua fight. Moving on, though, Joe Cordina. Guys, if you are new to this show in any way, Joe Cordina is one of my favorite fighters on the come up. I think he is perhaps the best British prospect right now in boxing. The only other guy is maybe the other guy on this card, Joshua Buatsi, who we'll get to. But Joe Cordina, talking about improving with each fight, his boxing technique ability is far above average for guys at this level. I think he is a superb talent. His slickness, his head movement, his accuracy, his overall boxing IQ is just off the charts. But for most of his sort of early pro fights, he fought like an amateur still. He wasn't really getting stoppages, wasn't really trying. There was no killer instinct, I should say. There was no transition to the pros in terms of trying to get the KO, which is a different mentality in the pro ranks compared to the amateurs. But in the last couple fights, we've seen a difference in Cordina in going for the finish, applying power, capitalizing on moments, and overall just throwing more combinations. So Cordina is quickly becoming one of those guys like a Shakur Stevenson who I will be talking about ad nauseum and get used to it, guys, because he is that good, and I think he's going to really impress this weekend. Moving on, Joshua Buatsi, obviously who we're talking about, fighting Ryan Ford. Should be a fun action fight. Ryan Ford, sort of a regional guy, but a fun action fighter. I think Buatsi should get the KO within probably 6 rounds, but hopefully we see him go at least a few more rounds than sort of normal as of late. And again, with Anthony Yarde sort of making that huge step up in competition level against Sergey Kovalev and looking kind of decent, let's be honest, I think Buatsi can sort of take a massive step up in competition after Ryan Ford. And God, I don't know who we would fight, but a top 15 name is possible, and I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. Like Isaac Chilemba, throw that guy in the mix. Like somebody, you know? AOB saying Okolie the Octopus is the best young UK talent by far. Hold on. I think I got a soundbite for that one. Oh, God! Ah, man, that's rough.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
Damn, that's AOBZ. Come on. Rob's not here. You don't have to big up Okolie that much. Savannah Marshall also on the card. And that's about it for like notable prospects. Like James Tennyson is on the card, but he's really only noticeable for losing big fights that he got the call up for. But yes, guys, let's move on. On Fox this weekend, obviously PBC, Aslan de Lara versus Ramon Alvarez. Lara should win this one in dominant fashion. I don't need to wax on about this one. Ramon Alvarez, while being the older brother, or younger brother? I don't know. Is he younger or older than Canelo? I forget. But anyways, the lesser brother of the Alvarez brothers. He should lose this fight, and I think Lara might get a KO here within like 6 to 9 rounds. Lara's obviously going to take some time, take 3 rounds and sort of just do Lara shit. But Ramon Alvarez is not that good, not that talented, and I think Lara should win this one quite handily. Only other notable fight on this card, other than maybe a notable prospect like Money Pal, the 4th against Von Alexander, which is a decent fight. Von Alexander getting a lot of journeyman work, so to speak, against a lot of top prospects. Is Sebastian Fundora versus Javante Clark, which, 2 junior middleweights, both guys over 6 feet tall, giants in the weight class. I am curious about that fight. Highly, highly curious about that fight. But again, most of this card, not that exciting to put it lightly. Leonard Sterling saying, what's your take on PBC card having 15 plus fights on the cards nearly every show? I don't mind it too much, to be quite honest, because it never feels like it disrupts the pacing, because a lot of these fights are like 4-rounders or 6-rounders, right? And on top of that, I'm okay with it because, again, it doesn't disrupt the pacing. But my only issue with this, because we don't see most of the fights, right, Leonard, is that most of these undercard fights we don't have access to. So that's my only issue. It was like, if we got a streaming feed of this on PBC's YouTube channel or FS2 or some sort of streaming platform through Fox Sports, I don't know if they do that, I would be okay with that, absolutely. But again, the 15 card, just it having 15 fights on a card, is that an issue? Not really. Not really that one. Igloo saying stop putting Quillen and Laura on in main events. I kind of agree with that. Or at least, I'll put it this way. In a perfect world, we don't have the Brandon Figueroa card last week, or this last weekend, right? And we have these two cards combined, get away half of the fluff, put that back on the regional show where they belong, and you're good to go. And have just a more beefed up card, have Brandon Figueroa on the card. I'll be happy with that if you have Laura on the main event against a fight that doesn't matter. But honestly speaking, this is a FS1 card. This isn't a Fox card. I know some people won't like that, but this is perhaps one of the worst Fox main events this year, I would say. At least, like all the ones in the first quarter, first half of the year, while there's a lot of mismatches and one-sided fights, at least they had contemporary, like, young, talented fighters, a la Keith Thurman, Leo Santa Cruz. Who else was on Fox at the time? Was Sean Porter? I think Sean Porter had a Fox card against Ugas, right? So, at least we had, young champions fighting. As long as Laura is a veteran, sort of on his way out, trying to get the last big paycheck, he doesn't really make sense for a main event. Peter Quillen, though, he shouldn't be main event at all. Gary saying, I got an issue. We need to hash out and argue out. I don't know what that means, Gary. I'll be honest. You maybe need to retype that out. Banana Ram saying Plant versus Uzgatigi. No, that was FS1. That wasn't Fox. That wasn't main Fox on like one of the main free-to-air channels. That was on FS1. FS1's like ESPN. It's not free-to-air. I don't know if that helps out people. Maybe not in the U.S. understand that. It's not FS1, FS2 aren't free-to-air channels. You need sort of a cable package to have them. But maybe most cable packages include them because out of the 120 million homes that have TVs in America, around 80 million have FS1. Around 88, 85 million have ESPN. So it's around, not comparable numbers, so to speak. There's a 40 million differential, but close enough. Gary saying, yeah, I was on the phone when I was typing that. Ooh, Gary, type out something else then. Some two small cards to mention on UFC Fight Pass. Toka Khan Clary is fighting Irving Gonzalez. Alicia Napoleon Espinoza is fighting Shamel Baldwin. Kaylee Race is on the card as well. She's always a fun fighter to watch. Also on Ring TV, Mercito. I think the Ring TV card already happened. Yep, Ring TV card already happened. I think it was yesterday. Obviously, Fernando Carabon fought. He lost. Mercito Gesta fought, and he lost. So some of the guys that they're trying to hype up on Ring TV didn't look like they did that well. Leonard saying the first FS1 done massive, around 900K ratings. Yeah, I did. Absolutely true. Gary saying ignore that. Strike that from the record. Gary, what were you trying to say, man? AOBZ is saying PBC having a bad year. PBC is having a great year, actually, to be quite honest. But speaking of PBC, actually, we're about to probably criticize them here, obviously speaking.